Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lauren and I'm a psychic medium, animal communicator, and shaman. And today I am going to talk to you guys about how to kind of jump into tarot or oracle if you're completely new to it. So this is kind of like my quick start guide. And I call it my quick start guide because some people I found, they just don't want to jump into buying their own deck or getting their own oracle cards because they feel like they need to go to classes, or they feel like they need to read a whole book on it, or they feel like they need to memorize it. And I'm kind of here to tell you that's not the case, and I'm just going to give you the bare minimum of what you need to pick up your own tarot or oracle deck, how to use it, and how to start getting the answers that you want. I just feel like, you know, I love tarot. This is such a gateway into this world of metaphysics, and I found that a lot of people are afraid of it, but as soon as they start getting their own decks, they realize that it's not that scary, and it's actually super helpful because they can get guidance about everyday things, and you know, you don't have to call up a psychic, and you know, all you got to do is just pull out your deck of cards, go through this process that I'm going to show you, and you know, you can get guidance on anything you're curious about. First, I'm going to talk about the two types of decks that you can buy. So there are tarot and oracle cards, and they are two separate things. So here is an example of a tarot deck, and tarot, it usually says they're tarot on the front, so that's how you know. So this is one of my decks called the Animal Wisdom Tarot deck. And then there's an oracle deck, and it'll usually say oracle on the front. And sometimes you might see both, and you might see combined like tarot and oracle decks. I would suggest getting one or the other to start out with. And then your second deck probably flip to the next, and then you might get a feel for which type you like better. So tarot cards are a lot more complex than oracle cards, but they are not crazy complex enough that you can't get started with them. So tarot is based off of the original Rider-Waite decks. The traditional tarot deck has 78 cards total, and all tarot decks should have 78 cards. The first 22 cards are called the Major Arcana, and those are Arcana, and those cards are kind of like big energy, huge themes. So like you'll have a theme of judgment or love or abandonment or the Fool. Whereas the Minor Arcana, which is the rest of the deck, which are 56 cards, those are kind of like smaller, more specific little things. They're not as big energy-wise, not as impactful. And so those Minor Arcana cards are split into 4 suits. Now traditionally the 4 suits are Wands, Cups, Pentacles, and Swords. And each one of those actually corresponds to an element. So I think like Wands is fire and Cups is water. So you can really get into learning this, and you know, you can really start reading it a ton of different ways. The basic things you need to know is for tarot, 78 cards, Major Arcana, Minor Arcana, and the Minor Arcana is split into 4 suits. So I'm just going to show you mine for an example. Now this one has changed a lot. This is that Animal Spirit, or Animal Wisdom Tarot. So they changed the names of the suits, and every single card is a different animal. So here, here's a Major Arcana card. It's a crocodile and a butterfly, and it's the Master of Discernment. So it's still gonna match the original Rider-Waite deck. It's still gonna match the Rider-Waite decks as far as the meaning for each card. So they're still gonna be very similar. So 7 of Shells. Shells is probably their version of Cups. So they've kind of changed it with this deck. But you know, the thing about tarot cards is you can't, unless you have it memorized, you gotta look at the book for what it means. So almost all tarot decks come with a book, and so you can figure out, okay, I pulled this card, what the heck does it mean? And the great thing about tarot is that if you have the whole 78 deck of cards memorized, you can pick up any tarot deck and use it, and you should know the meanings. Now, I've always tried to get on the track of memorizing all the cards, but I'm too lazy. Like I can't. I can't focus for that long. So that's why I don't really like tarot unless I can have a book with me so I can just flip to it. So again, you don't need to have it memorized. As long as you have a book that you can flip to, oh, okay, so this card means XYZ in relation to my question. So the other deck that you can get are oracle cards. And I like oracle cards because they can be any number. They usually have the description of the card written on the actual card. And that's what I like, is that I don't have to, excuse me, open up a whole book to figure out what that card means. Oracle cards can be any number, they can be any subject. They're just a little more free form in what people make. That can be a bad thing sometimes because, you know, people can make up cards that don't make sense, or they don't necessarily describe them very well. I really like Colette Baron Reed. She's one of my favorites. She made this deck called the Wisdom of the Oracle. And so these cards, they have numbers on them, but they do not correspond to the traditional tarot. The number is just so that you can look it up in the book if you don't understand the word on the front. So this one is No Place Like Home. So, you know, in relation to your question, you might not even need to open the book because maybe you kind of get a feel for what that means. So I like oracle cards. I feel like oracle cards are a great way to start. They're a lot more easy to read, they're a little less overwhelming, and they're very face value. So the first thing you want to do when you get a deck of cards is you want to cleanse the deck. And I don't think that you need to do this every time you use the deck, but whenever you haven't picked them up in a while. And so cleansing the deck just kind of like wakes them up, it wakes them up energy-wise. It also lets your guides know, hey, I'm going to use this to communicate with you. And it just kind of clears the intention, gets rid of any negative or just stagnant energy. And so a lot of people, they might smudge around their cards. They might set their cards out in the sun or the moonlight if they feel like that helps. I know some people that just simply knock on the deck and they just kind of clear the energy just with their intention. And so kind of the second step that I am going to give you kind of goes along with the first, is setting your intention. So I usually combine these two steps. So when I'm cleansing my deck, I set the intention that the only people or the only entities that can communicate to me through this deck are my spirit guides, or are my guides for my highest and best good. So I'm setting the intention of who can talk to me through these cards. And that's very important because you don't want to just jump in and start asking questions and you're not really sure who's answering. Because we want to make sure, you know, because sometimes spirits can try to communicate to us and they have very biased opinions. So we want to make sure that whoever we're talking to has our highest and best good in mind. So the third step is, again, kind of like the second, in that we want to connect with who we want to talk to. So usually when we're doing a reading for ourselves, we want to connect to our own guides. If you're if you're reading for somebody else, you want to connect with their guides. If you're reading an animal, or if you want to communicate with a spirit, set that intention. You know, I'm going to talk to only this person or only this pet, or I'm talking to only my guides, or I'm only talking to Bob's guides. And that just makes sure that you've set the intention, you've let everybody know this is what's going down, I'm only communicating with this person. And when you set that intention, those entities have to follow suit. You kind of have the major hand. You have ultimate control, and what you say goes. And so that's why I always say, make sure you know who you're talking to. And if you don't know, just always go with your spirit guides, or I only wanted to communicate with somebody that's here for my highest and best good. So step number 4 is we want to ask our question, and we want to shuffle the deck at the same time. So when we ask our questions, we want to make sure that they're not yes or no questions. That's kind of the first big rule. When you ask yes or no questions, you're only leaving 2 answers for your guides, and that's yes or no. And what if the answer is yes, but you could do this and this and that, or no, but you're just not leaving you're not leaving room for your guides to elaborate, basically. And we want to have as much information as we possibly can, so no yes or no questions. And should I or shouldn't I are also yes or no questions in disguise, so try to avoid those. Better questions are what questions, why questions, what can I do to improve the situation. If you're really wanting to date somebody or you want a new job, what can I do to get closer to having this relationship? What can I do to better myself for this job? Why? I'm trying to think of other questions. What am I missing? What am I not seeing? Why is this happening? What's going on? All of those questions can just be a lot more open-ended. So then you want to go ahead and shuffle your deck. Now, you can shuffle any sort of way you want. There's some people that swear that it has to be a certain way, but you'll eventually find a way that works for you. So I kind of shuffle like this, and this is kind of how I do it. And I always shuffle, is this left to right, right to left? And then, you know, when I feel like it's about time for me to pull a card, just kind of use your intuition on when to pull a card. I kind of tap them back together, I fan them out, and I just look, and whatever one pops out to me visually, I'll pull that card. So you'll find your own way of shuffling over time, but I think the key is to do it the same after a while, because then your guides kind of get an idea of, okay, this is the way she shuffles, we want to make sure this card is here, and you know, that's kind of how they work through it. And that's why some people swear that you need to do it a certain way. I don't think it needs to be done a certain way, it just more needs to be consistent. And obviously if you want to change it up over time, feel free. So you want to shuffle. When you feel like you've thought about the question and you feel like it's time to pull, then go ahead and pull a card. It could be a card that falls out of the deck, it can be one just that looks visually interesting. You can decide that whenever I'm done shuffling, I'm going to pull the one on the top or on the bottom. Totally up to you. But then go ahead, flip over the card, go ahead and read it. Now I always say, before you just go reaching for that guidebook, go ahead and look at the image and see if there's anything you intuitively get. Do you get a bad feeling about this card? Do you get a negative feeling? Are the images in it, or is there something that the images say to you? Like, you know, whenever I see an owl, I think, oh, intuition. And whenever I see cheetah, I think, oh, fast-paced, co-create. And so, you know, maybe that doesn't quite make sense with the question I asked. So then I can go ahead and pick up the guidebook and look in the guidebook as to what it could mean. So again, you don't have to always go by what the guidebook says. And, you know, maybe you read through the guidebook and it doesn't make sense. I would maybe take that as a sign to pull another card, or maybe just look at the card itself and see if you get anything from that. So that's kind of the fifth step, is to go ahead and look in the guidebook and kind of decode the message, you know, write it down. You know, here's my question, here's my answer, what am I going to do with this information? And so the sixth and final step is, I always say to thank your guides or whoever you were speaking to and take action. So we want to thank our guides because, you know, they're taking, well, I don't want to say they're taking their time because they don't really have time, but you know, they're putting the energy into helping us, and that's really important. And whenever we thank them and actually like act on the advice that they give us, they're more likely to give us information in the future. So they're more likely to show up again and ask your question next time. If they're like, oh wow, she's actually, you know, taking action and she's following through on the getting to bed on time, like we said, or like we advised, you know, they're more likely to keep giving you information in the future. I'm curious if you guys have any questions about this process, or if there's anything that I left out or anything that you're not sure about when you first picked up your deck. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below if you have any questions on kind of getting started with your first tarot deck. Go ahead and like this video if you enjoyed it, and I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have a ton of fun videos on how to incorporate the spiritual, metaphysical side of this stuff into your life without being too over the top. I hope you guys have fun with your first tarot deck. Happy reading!